Hi, I'm going to talk to you a bit about climbing the mast and the equipment that you'll need to go aloft and come down safely. So the first item I want to talk about is the climbing harness. I have a women's specific one, funnily enough, and it's a DMM model. Putting one on is really simple. You just gather the loops together so they suspend. So we'll put these loops together. We'll put it on like a pair of pants. Adjust the thigh straps so they're snug but not too tight. Pull the waistband up so it's just sitting snug above your hips. Here's our belay loop. This is the part we attach all of our climbing gear to and our safety kit. Now let's say you wanted to go up the mast. You could go up quite safely as long as your harness fits you properly, like this. So we have a climbing harness, and from this loop we can attach our halyard and we can attach our safety line. If we're going up and we're two-handed, we could go up, rather than the person down below having to winch one and then tail on another winch and taking two lines up at the same time. What you can do is take one line forward, secure it at the base of the mast, and then the other line you can attach your halyard to your harness. The person can do the winching. Now what you can do as the person going up the mast is you can use a prusik loop. So this simple rope loop can attach to your harness with a basic carabiner. Simple as stuff. And this line can be put onto your static line that's been taken forward and used as a prusik. This can be your safety line that you control, and you can control whether you're going to stop, or if the line slips, you can let go, and we'll demonstrate that. So the prusik line is a much easier way for a two-handed crew to send somebody aloft, and the person aloft has some element of control of their descent and ascent. There's your simple harness setup of one carabiner, one prusik loop, and a climbing harness. And that would suit a two-handed crew, would actually suit any number of crew actually, but that's a really good basic setup. Now the kit we'll be using would be the gree-gree, the ascender, in my case a left-handed one. You'll need a lanyard to attach yourself to your ascender, and you'll need at least one foot loop. Now if you don't want to use a gree-gree for your descender, there are other alternatives. You could use a figure of 8. And there's all sorts of different makes, but they all work from the same principle. It's just friction, and you control the belay action. So all you're looking for is a friction device that will allow you a controlled descent when you decide to come back down the mast. So whilst I advocate the use of one of these, not everybody wants to use this. Some people prefer a figure of 8, or there are a couple of other belay options out there that I've listed as well on the equipment guide for what you might need. As for the types of carabiners that you use, I personally like the ones that avoid cross-loading, where they have this extra bit of a lip or a tongue that stop the carabiner accidentally slipping and going sideways and ended up with a cross-load. It's not the case with one of these. And I have found on previous occasions that one or two of my carabiners had a tendency to want to go sideways, which is why I put a couple of these in my climbing harness. It's just one less thing to have to worry about. I use a variety of different makes and manufacturers. I'm not specific to any particular one. So the different options you've got, that I've got on this kit, there's the anti-cross-loading carabiner, which is from this particular one is from Black Diamond. I really like it. and that's a screw closure. Safety. There's the grivel. I've got a couple of those in my kit, and you can see where the colour's been worn off and where I've been pulling up on the harness. There's a few scuff marks as well on them. Keep an eye on your carabiners for any signs of damage. This is a screw closure type carabiner, but it can slip sideways and you can get cross-loading if you're not careful. So put this in a place where you can see it easily and correct it if it starts to cross-load. And then we have the other type. So this is from DMM. We've got this small shoulder, which can help prevent things from sliding around the back. This is a sprung-loaded closure, so it doesn't require screw action, but it's a sprung load. You can see that there's a little notch, and it goes up and around and allows us to open it. So it's all sprung-loaded like that. So I use that as well, and I use that one for my safety line, my Prusik line. I use these two of the same on my ascender because they're really easy to see and they slot on and off very easily, and it wouldn't be very easy to have the anti-cross loading in this circumstance. It is blowing dogs off chains here today, so I'm not going to be going up the mast, and there's no need for me to go up there, but I am going to demonstrate the kit in action and how we do the repeat action for inching our way solo up the mast. I'm also going to show the use of the Prusik line and how we might use that as a safety line as well. So I'm going to attach the gree to the halyard. So you can see which way around it goes. There's an upwards that points upwards, and that bit goes towards the top of the mast, funnily enough. And then the bit trailing down the bottom goes out the other end. Now, to hold this on the line, we're going to need carabiner. Attach that on there. Now this will go onto our harness. So I'm going to do that now. So it's done. And I'm going to lock that on. So I'm going to lock that in place. And just to test that we've got it the right way round, before we faff about doing anything else, I'm going to sit down on it. Does it articulate? If I sit down on this gree, you'll see it articulates and locks it. I can sit and suspend and dangle around all I like on this piece of kit. This is our descender. That's the first bit of kit I put on the line. The next piece of kit will be the ascender. So we've pre-prepared this ascender. We've got all our lovely gubbins hanging off the bottom, including our foot loops in orange and our other harness attachment. So I need to take off this top carabiner temporarily, clip that to myself for a moment, and then I'm going to put this onto the halyard. So you can see I've opened the jaw. Now I'm going to slide that onto the halyard and then close it up, slide up a little bit, like that, hopefully you can see it, and I've closed that up. I'm going to put this back on the top now. So I attach mine this way round. You can see that the opening is on this side. It's still, I've made sure it's not locked for the moment because I'm going to add on an extra bit of purchase. So I haven't attached the lanyard to myself yet, so I'm going to do that now. So here's my lanyard, and this is going to my harness alongside the other one. This is another anti-crossload, and I'm going to lock that one up. So both on my harness are locked. One's going to the gree, the other one is going to my ascender. Now, well, we could go up just like this, it's no problem. I've got my foot loop, put a foot in the foot loop. I would stand up, take that up, pull upwards on this to take in the slack, and I could do it that way. But actually, we're not as strong pulling upwards as we are pulling downwards. Just going to drop that down the line a little bit so we can see. Okay, so we're attached, but we've got this trailing line that goes down to the deck, that's our halyard, and I'm going to put that through this top carabiner. And essentially what that does, gives us a bit of 2-to-1 purchase. So when we pull down, whoa, it's so much easier. So to run back through what we've got our ascender, we've got our gree-gree, all attached to me. On our bottom carabiner, we've got our foot loop with my foot in it right now. I don't know if you can see that, my foot in it. There's our foot loop. We've got a lanyard attaching us and our harness to the ascender. And this little bit of extra purchase by using this top carabiner. Now I'm going to lock that off because I don't want it coming undone. So I'm going to just double check that all of my carabiners are fastened, properly secured, everything's locked. I'm going to demonstrate on one line only the ascension system. So I'm going to slide the ascender up the line, and then I'm going to pull down on the other bit. For my halyard is Dyneema and it's really stiff, so it needs a bit of persuasion. Okay, it's working. So now I'm sat back on my gree-gree and my foot loop is quite loose. So if I was to stand up, this could be entertaining. If I stand up in my gear, so take the pressure off of the gree-gree and I take up the slack and I'm reducing this part of the line here. So I'm gradually inching my way up. So I'll take the ascender up, take the pressure on my leg and then pull on the purchase block. Now, it's crazy in this marina today. I'd be mad to go any further. So that's the principle of solo climbing. To come back down again, well, I'm sitting on my gree-gree, so I can take my ascender off. In order to do that, to take it off completely, I need to take off that top carabiner with the purchase. So I can slide it down a bit, but I need to take this off. So I'm secure on my gree-gree, it's not going anywhere. So in order to descend, take the halyard out. So now I can control this by my hand only as I descend. I'm going to take this carabiner out for the moment, attach it to myself. Now I can take the ascender off completely. Okay, my ascender is off completely. And then I can use my carabiner that I just took off to reattach it all to me. So I can use this carabiner to now attach the ascender and all its related gubbinses to my belt. So now we're just dangling around on a single gree-gree. For us to descend, there's a handle on the gree-gree, and this is the one we're going to lift up, and you can feel the tension release. So as I just ease back on the tension, you'll see me start to descend as I feed it. Although this is a really stiff line. Oop, here we go. And there we go. Now if you've got a smoother line, you'll have a smoother descent. Or if your Dyneema line is a bit more compliant than mine. So that's the gree-gree. The ascender can be put back on at any point and go back up again. Now, attaching a prusik line, if we wanted to climb using prusik, or if we use it as a safety line, ordinarily I would have my second halyard, or your topping lift, and you would have that also attached at the base of the mast. We have two halyards, or two lines, whatever we can manage, to go up and down the mast, and we would attach our prusik line to it. So your prusik line, it's fairly easy to tie. Go around, back through, around, back through, around once more, and back through. Now, Take care that the lines are not tangled and they're evenly spaced and look as they should do. You can add another turn if you want. We'll just make the friction a bit more. So the prusik line, as we can see, slides really easily when not under load. The moment anything happens to me on the harness and it comes under load, it grabs. And this friction hitch will hold on to me while I sort myself out. Some people will climb the mast using just prusiks, and people do climbing professionally with just prusiks. Personally, I wouldn't, just because there's some really good kit out there that's a little bit easier to use, I think, a bit more sophisticated.